Hi, I'm Ned Breslin from the Tennyson Center for Children here in Denver, Colorado. And we're at this amazing coffee shop called Prodigy. It's on Colorado and 40th. Fabulous service, fabulous food, fabulous chai. Come on down and check it out because they also have a fabulous mission. I'm so excited today because I'm with one of my heroes, Jade Woodard, who's the ED of Illuminate. Here's a little story about Tennyson. Every kid who comes to Tennyson and we work with at a late stage in their crisis, if you look at their case file, you will see missed opportunities along the way where interventions could have happened earlier on that would have prevented them from being removed from homes or in crisis within those homes. We need actors and agencies who are intervening in that place, and that's Illuminate. Here's a really short video on one of Illuminate's programs, and then we're going to dive in.
Every kid deserves to be happy, healthy, safe, and loved. But sometimes things happen in kids' lives that hurt them, make them unhappy, or make them feel scared. When those things happen, it is called abuse or neglect. Here at Illuminate Colorado, we work with all kinds of people in all kinds of ways to make sure that harmful and dangerous things don't happen to kids. We teach people so they know how to keep kids safe. We make sure families get the help they need to protect their children. We help create laws that make our communities better, and we work with many different organizations and people to figure out new, better ways to prevent abuse and neglect. We serve kids like you. We serve children and everyone in a child's life who helps to make that life great. Parents, caregivers, family members, community members, and also professionals like teachers, lawyers, doctors and nurses, police officers, government lawmakers, and others whose jobs are to care for and protect children. The truth is that harmful, scary things happen to kids every day, and there are ways to keep those things from ever happening at all. Donations help us continue to do the work of making sure all children are safe and happy. With your donation, we can teach more people, find better ways to keep kids safe, and work with more people to make brighter childhoods in Colorado.
Jade, welcome to Stand in the Gap.
Thank you.
So you have built this organization to go to places where nobody really goes. There's very little funding. Nobody really goes there, but without you, we're just going to keep seeing a flood of kids coming into crisis. They're going to have to fail and fail and fail. Why does Illuminate exist? Why did you build this?
Yeah, so, Illuminate is really about prevention.
Yeah.
What can we do to strengthen families from the very beginning? Mm-hmm. And we know in research that there are 5 things that actually do that. Mm-hmm. And if you build those 5 protective factors in families, we will see the risk of child abuse and neglect drastically decrease, if not even be fully eliminated. Mm-hmm. And that's why we do this.
Yeah.
And that's why we do it every day.
Tell me, let's build on Tennyson's tradition. We're going to tell a little bit of a story so that we can locate this piece within the story of a person or someone you've come in contact to. Help us center this session.
So I'm actually going to tell a personal story.
Great.
Because sometimes I think these can shed the greatest light.
Yeah.
So I mentioned those 5 protective factors, and one of those protective factors is social connections. And we hear that, and that seems pretty simple, right? You have a network of family or friends, you have social connections that support you and your family. So last fall, my daughter started kindergarten. She's my youngest, and she was riding the school bus back and forth to kindergarten. I was really nervous about my 5-year-old on the school bus by herself. And everybody, my mom, my husband, everyone was like, don't worry, she's fine. Like, this bus stop is 3 blocks or 3 houses from our house. Like, she will be fine.
It's my daughter. What are you talking about?
She's our youngest. Like, I don't know. So 2 weeks into the school year, I'm on a site visit in Vail, and I hit I-70 traffic on the way home, and I'm not going to be home for the school bus. Right. I'm going to be 20 minutes late for my 5-year-old. Right. So I do what I typically do, which is I call my husband, and he's in law enforcement, and he's on a call, and he can't get there. I call my mom, she can't get there in time. Right. And I realize I have no one else to call. Yeah. And my 5-year-old is going to be on the side of the road by herself for 20 minutes because I have no one to call.
That's a terrifying moment.
It was horrifying.
Yeah.
And so I start, ticking through my head of who are my social connections, who are my networks, and I truly can't come up with anybody. I start to think about our neighbor who has some little boys that also ride the bus with her, and I don't have their phone number. I mean, they're neighbors, but I don't know them well. So I start figuring out how am I going to get their phone number. My mom works at the same company as the dad, and so she sends me to his desk number, which by the grace of God forwards to his cell phone number, and he is pulling into his driveway. Wow. And he says, of course she can come over. Like, they'll play in the front yard and, no problem. And I have to tell you, that was one of the hardest phone calls I ever made, because I had to admit that I couldn't care for my child like I needed to in that moment. And it's changed my life. Like, truly, we have these neighbors now that we support each other every day. And if I'm late, if they're late, if they need help, if I need help, we're there for each other. And it was a social connection that changed my life.
That's amazing, because I think we have this impression of neighborhoods and neighbors that is a bit romanticized, right? Everyone's got everyone's back, but it's actually not true. And it's amazing that you have to reach out and you're almost like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Yeah. And your help is right next door.
Yeah, I mean, so when you think about it from the perspective of families that don't have anyone to call, we think of neighborhoods as being, these great places, as you said. And for the most part, we drive into our driveways and we close our garage behind us and we go in our backyard instead of out on our front porch. And so that creates disconnection. And what we need is more connection. We need more people supporting each other. We need more families looking out for other families. And that actually prevents child abuse. And it is such a simple thing when you think about it, but it makes such a big difference in families.
I am amazed at the people that we work with at Tennyson's. The families we work with at Tennyson are all alone. They are alone. They've been isolated. They've isolated themselves. And their healing journey because of that is harder.
Yeah. And so that's what we do at Illuminate. Yeah. One of our biggest goals is to build those protective factors, including social connection. Nice. So in the video, we shared about one of our programs, Circle of Parents. Mm-hmm. We run these parent support groups. They're peer-led for parents to support other parents through whatever it is that they can use support on. We specialize in groups for parents that are overcoming substance use disorders and trying to enter into and sustain recovery. Wow. But there are programs that can be for parents kind of in any situation. We know that other than the rare exception, most parents love their children. Most children love their parents. They want to be together. They want to care for each other. And the more that we can do as communities to support families in being together, the better it's going to be for children and families.
How do we get to a place where it's okay to say, I need help?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we're doing a lot of work on that in our state, in our child welfare system, in our communities. A lot of it is changing the conversation. I have to say, right now, I think families are afraid to ask for help because they're afraid of what that's going to mean in terms
stigmatizing.
of...
Like, you're not good enough.
Right. I mean, even I, calling my neighbor to say, hey, can you pick up my kid from the bus stop? I was afraid that meant I wasn't a good enough mom. And that was a 20-minute crisis. Sure. And we have families that the crises that they're experiencing are clearly much more acute and much more long-lasting than mine. And to be able to say, I need help, this is hard, it's a real strength, it's a real challenge, and we need to create communities. And we need to change the conversation that is normalized, that is the thing that we all do. When it gets hard, we say, hey, you know what? I need a little help. And if everyone's doing it, then it doesn't feel so scary.
You told a beautiful story and were, really open and honest and vulnerable. And I appreciate that. I'm going to ask you to go there again.
Okay.
You've been working at this for some time. Like, you could do anything. Why are you standing in the gap with kids and families in ways that others do not?
To me, the opportunity to support families that are in hard places or that are struggling, to keep them from falling all the way in, it's the best thing I could ever do with my life. More children need to have opportunities to be safe, to have those safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments. And I don't know, I'm very passionate about what can we do on the front end to support and strengthen families and prevent children from having to be involved in the child welfare system. I feel like there is such a burden on our child welfare system right now. And if we could create communities that did more to support families that were struggling, it would alleviate the pressure on our child welfare system and allow our child welfare system to really serve the families that need to be involved with the system.
I'm startled at how we just wait too long, right? So all the funding, all the energy is after families have failed so much that it just spirals out of control. And now you get child welfare in and all that, and they are great people. They're doing great things, but we have too many kids in Colorado, too many families who are falling into that problem. And how do we stop it? It's not just prevention in a little bubble. It's like you say, it's like creating a whole new ecosystem.
Yeah. So, prevention is a lot bigger than we think.
Yes.
I think people hear the word prevention and think, oh, that's around education or that's around like parenting classes.
Yeah.
We approach prevention from a very global perspective.
Yeah.
We need to change laws. We need to shift organizational practices. We need to educate providers and community members. We need to support families on the ground. Prevention work really is global. We need to shift how we interface with families. We need to shift what we expect of parents from the very beginning. So much of what I say, I think sounds a little cliche because, everybody says like, you're not given a manual on how to raise children. And that is so cliche and it is so real.
Sometimes cliches are based on something.
It takes a village is my other favorite one.
Right.
Very cliche.
Right.
But the truth is, if we leaned in and supported families from the very beginning and helped them understand one of our other 5 protective factors, knowledge of parenting and child development, if we helped people kind of start from a place of, what does it mean to be a parent? What am I going to experience with this little bucket of love and stress as I try and raise it into a human being?
Yeah.
If we started from that place and we wrapped around parents with support and what they needed, so whether it's a behavioral health issue like substance use or mental health or simply someone who was never taught how to parent or didn't learn good coping skills or good relational skills themselves as a child. If we really leaned in and supported all of those individuals and parents and families in, promoting their behavioral and their physical and their mental health, they would then be more capable of raising children.
It's a healthy Colorado.
Yeah.
That's a healthy Colorado. It's April.
Yes.
Why does April matter to us?
So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And for April, we really celebrate what we believe every child deserves. And that is a healthy, happy, safe, fun, playful childhood. And that's what these blue pinwheels are. They are to represent childhood.
They're everywhere, and I got to tell you, whenever I see them, I actually do think of you.
Well, good.
Because you guys are really good at it. You really promote it well. Everyone promotes it. It's really great, but you always kind of locate on one. What's your high five?
My high five?
Yeah, like what does this look like in 5 to 10 years?
My high
that five. You're sitting back and going, we're really getting to a new place.
So I think for me, I would like to see us investing earlier in families. So kind of that first sign of stress, really how are we wrapping around and supporting families? So that is everything from access to behavioral and physical health care, but that's also in our communities doing more around supporting each other. In this month of April, if you have a family in your neighborhood that you worry about, bring them over dinner. And say, is there anything I can do to support you? We can offer help just as much as we can ask for help. And actually, we might be more effective in shifting what we expect in our communities if we're all out there offering to support one another rather than expecting people who are struggling to know how or be able to ask for help. 1 in 5 parents right now say they have no one to turn to for emotional support. So if you're in a community, you probably know one of those parents that feels like they have no one.
Yeah.
So be a someone.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Jade, I want to thank you for sharing your story. That was really, really beautiful. I do think connecting the line between our past and our future is so important, and I really appreciate you doing this. How can people keep up with y'all?
So first of all, during this month of April, we hope everyone will join our Pinwheels for Prevention photo contest.
Cool.
So find a pinwheel and take a photo. Other than that, we're certainly all over the internet, illuminatecolorado.org, and all of your favorite social media channels. And we just love to really help spread this word.
Yeah, I think you're truly exceptional. I want to thank you so much for joining us and standing in the gap. Please check out Illuminate. They are really the key and driving change that will reduce the number of kids and families falling into crisis. They are marvelous. Jade is remarkable. So check them out. Thank you so much for coming to Stand in the Gap. If you want to do something real easy, join Stand in the Gap on our Facebook page at TennysonCenter.org. We're trying to build a movement around people who are leaning in and finding creative ways to access agencies like Illuminate. Next month, we're going to be talking about CASAs. And if you don't know what a CASA is, you should join us. Thank you all so much.